Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge and welcome to this week's reading wrap up. Before we get started, I want to welcome a new channel member who joined at the dedicated diva level. This name I don't have a first name for, I just have a screen name. So it is mchalk0530. So if that's you, please reach out to me on Instagram or, well, Instagram is probably the best, or here on the YouTube channel member page so that I can get you your benefits so that we know. But thank you so much for supporting the channel. With the changing of my job and the lowering of my salary, it means a lot to me that you support the bookish side of my life. I'd never call myself a starving artist, but you know. Anyway. All right, well, we have some great books to talk about. I had 2 6-star reads in the last week, which is great because last month all of my 6-star books were rereads. So I'm very happy that I have some new ones to talk about. Yeah, it's going to be great. I also have some arcs that I got to read that I can't talk a ton about, but they were so amazing. Oh, boy, am I excited. So let's go ahead and dive into this. We have, let's see, we have 15 books to talk about, which is awesome. I feel much better. The last couple weeks have been like slower ones, but we are into September already. What the hell, everyone? How did we get here? Crazy shit. So let's go ahead and dive in. So the first book that I read, which I finished Sunday last week, I'm not sure, but I started the Elements series by Brittainy C. Cherry. This is my first ever Brittainy C. Cherry. I was gifted actually the whole series by one of my viewers. I believe Ashley is her name. Hi Ashley, thank you so much. She was cleaning out her library and sent me some books, and it's so funny because I had just put them on my TBR because my friend Avery said that book 3 in this series is her favorite romance of all time, I believe. So that is a glowing recommendation, but I want to read the whole series. I know most people don't really love books like 1 and 2. I don't know, but I really like this one. I actually gave it 4.5 stars. Something that I will say too, and you'll see more of it, I was in a kind of like contemporary mood at the end of last week, beginning of this week, and I cried a lot in the ones I was reading. We'll get to another one that kind of broke me a little bit. But this one, I ended up really enjoying. It is very like, it's so angsty. Oh my gosh. This is actually about a widower and a widow. So our hero is Tristan Cole, and he's seen as being cruel and damaged. And he works in this small town. And then our heroine, so he's a widower, and he lost his wife and son like 5-6 years ago. I'm not sure. I think it's like 5 years ago. Or no, it was only like 18 months ago. Sorry. This book is set in like 2014, 2015, because that's when it was written. So I keep thinking it's older, but, and so he is obviously pretty broken about that happening. And then our heroine, she lost her husband, and she is finally moving back to their town, like where they were from. She'd been staying with her mother, which wasn't a very healthy situation. And so she and her daughter are moving back to the town, and they end up being neighbors with Tristan. And this book is so hard to describe. The both of them, it starts out with very antagonistic thing. She accidentally like hits his dog, and then like his dog is okay, don't worry, but like they have to take it to the vet, and he's just so cruel with how he talks to her. He's very much a prickly porcupine trying to keep everyone away. But as their like connection grows, they actually kind of become this unhealthy symbolic relationship for each other, where they kind of pretend to be the other person's spouse for them in the bedroom. So it starts them off in a very unhealthy place, and then they have to see if they can shed those personalities and love each other for who the other is. So I almost gave this book 5 stars, except for at the very end, there ended up being a villain in this story, and I don't think it needed one. Like, I really don't think that this needed that. I think that the storyline that was set up and the angst that was there, and there was enough emotional stuff that they had to overcome, that I didn't like that we could blame a lot of it on a person for doing something that caused it. You know, I wish it had been how it was set out, and that we just had to deal with it. I know that's very vague, but I ended up giving this 4.5 stars. I liked it a lot. But again, I was in a very particular mood, which was great because I'm not always in that kind of mood, you know. And then we have the book that broke me out of that mood because it broke me, and that is The Heart Principle. So I already talked about this book a little bit because I did my monthly wrap up. It went up last Monday, and that one, this book ended up being on my favorite books of the month. So I've already talked about it a lot. You can go watch that if you want more in depth about this one. Mostly what I want to say is that this was a 5-star read. This is not a romance. It is. This is chick lit. This is women's fiction. I wouldn't say chick lit. I'd say women's fiction. It's beautiful. I gave it 5 stars. I knew going in that it was more women's fiction than the other two were. And I'm glad that I knew, because that's all that I ask. Like, me and other romance booktubers, we talk about this. I don't have a problem with women's fiction. I don't. I've enjoyed quite a few of them. It's that I don't like being lied to about it. Like, I don't be given a book and be like, hey, this is the romance, you're gonna love it. And then I read it and I'm like, this was women's fiction. What are you doing to me? Like, I just want to know going in. And so I knew going in what I was getting into. I was told the trigger warnings for this, which I'll tell you in a second. So I was reading it for what it was. I wasn't expecting it to be anything else. And so when the romance was very central and important to the story, that was perfect. But this is really this is more so than anything, about Anna Sun, who she, in this book, discovers she's on the autism scale. She also has a parent have a stroke and then need to be part of the caregiving team for this parent, and that parent is very reluctant to have it. It's very painful to watch. I have not had this happen to a parent, but I had this happen to an aunt. It was for a very, very short amount of time. There was not this drawn out, painful experience, but the emotions and some of the things that I saw her going through, I've seen my loved ones have them. And there is a note in the back of this book from Anna that this is her lived experience. This book is actually written in first person. Her other two were written in third person, because she said when she sat down to write this book, she felt like Anna. And in the same way of like finding out her diagnosis and, you know, being there for her mother, and then during the pandemic, like part of the reason this book was delayed so long is that Helen took a break. And she was like, I just need to delay everything. And when you read this book and you see what she's been through, of course this is fictionalized, and, you know, it's not exactly her story. But when you read this, you understand what the author was probably going through. And I'm like, girl, I wish you'd take all the time you need, because it was agonizing. So this book was beautiful. It was painful. There are trigger warnings for ableism. She has a family member who refuses to see her diagnosis. We have caretaking. We have illness of a parent. We have death of a parent. We have suicidal thoughts, caregiver burnout. This is a heavy book. I feel like it will be very cathartic if you've ever lived through something like this. Interesting if you'd like to see what some of that might look like. But this is not fun. Okay, I'll tell you, there was nothing fun about this book for me. The meet cute was adorable. I haven't talked about Quan at all. Quan is wonderful. I loved him from the other two books. I was so excited for his book. He is a survivor of testicular cancer, so he does have a little bit of body image issues about his little man parts. Not his little man parts, but you know what I meant. And he was a joy. If there is anything that's fun or joyful, it's Quan. And the thing about this book, though, is that there's not a ton of turmoil in their relationship because they have this beautiful build, and then it's really all about what she's going through, which is why this to me is women's fiction. And I just want everyone to be prepared. And here I said you could go watch my other review to learn more about this, and I told you all the same things anyway, but that's okay. So I gave this 5 stars. It is not a favorite book though. Like, it's very painful, so just know that. Then I read Kingly Bitten by Lexi C. Foss, which I have been dying for. I don't have my physical copy yet because I needed to slow down my physical book buying, just because I have a new job now where I'm not making as much money, so I need to be smart. But I will buy this and add it to my collection. So this is book 5 in the Blood Alliance series. It's funny, Tiffany and I were talking because there's a note at the beginning of this book that, like, you could read this as a standalone, but you should read the other books first. I'm like, bitch, you can't read this as a standalone. I'm sorry. Don't even attempt to do it, because literally everything that's happened before, like, this book completely depends on stuff that directly happens in previous books. And so will the last book in the series. Like, everything builds on each other, which is fantastic. Like, the series is epic. I love it, but you cannot start with Kingly Bitten. You need to start with Chastely Bitten and work your way up to this. But I loved this. This is between a scientist and Jace, our new vampire king, but he has to stay incognito because the rest of the world doesn't know he's the king yet, and they might revolt if they find out. And by the rest of the world, I mean the other, like, vampires and stuff in this series. This is a paranormal post-apocalyptic series where lycans and vampires have become, like, they rule over the humans. Humans have no rights. They are slaves, breeders, playthings, blood bags. They don't have rights. And we have this, so that's the Blood Alliance, it's a blood alliance between, like, the vampires and the lycans for superiority over the humans. And then we have our small group of rebels, which are who we've met in the previous books, who want things to go back to normal for a certain sense. Like, they still need humans for their blood, yes, but they want it to be safer for them and for them to have rights, and they have to do some dirty things to make that happen. So that's mostly all I can say, which is an overview of the series as a whole. The first 3 books are on Anyplay, by the way, so if you want to listen, you can do that there. Anyplay is an audiobook service, and some people don't know what Anyplay is when I mention it. They are a service which is unlimited audiobooks, okay? It is. They're unlimited. You can listen to as many books as you fucking want, and they have everything. Anyway, I don't have a promo code for them. I just tell people about it because it's amazing. Let's see. So anyway, I love this. I gave it 5 stars. It was epic. And the setup for the final book in the series, Cruelly Bitten, I'm terrified for, and I can't wait. And it's a whole year away, which is sad, but it's okay. It's okay. All right. Then I read Surrender to the Devil by Lorraine Heath because I was burned out of contemporary books, and I wanted to continue with this series because I read the next book in the series. Like, I read In Bed with the Devil was my group read for August, and I really liked it, and I wanted to continue. So this is book 3 or 2. This is book 2 or 3. This is book 3, and this one is Franny. Okay, this one is Franny, Franny Darling, and she has an orphanage for boys, and she's trying to protect them from the streets and keep them from having to be thieves and stuff. And she gets put in the path of Sterling, who is the brother of our heroine from the first book, and he's going blind. And so he had went on a tour of the world, basically, to do all these great things, because he's slowly, like, his sight is, like, dimming, so it's, like, narrowing. So he doesn't have peripheral sight, and he's very sure that he's going to go blind, like, any time now. Like, he sees himself as a potential, like, cripple soon because of this, okay? And so he knows he needs to get married and have an heir, but he wants to have a fling with, like, the most beautiful woman that he's seen, because he's going to lose his eyesight. So he wants to do it with someone really pretty and maybe have a mistress for a while and then get married and have an heir. And so he meets Franny at, I think, the wedding. I think it's his sister's wedding. because Franny is a part of the Fagin's gang, which is what the series is about. And he is instantly drawn with her, and she's like, I can't have anything to do with you. Also, she has a traumatic past. She was raped when she was a teenager, a child, basically. But they're just drawn to each other, and they keep being drawn to each other. And this book has a lot of stuff that I don't normally like. But the way that Lorraine Heath does it, it just worked for me so well, because the way that Sterling sees himself and the way that he sees her, he's very much like, I know that I'm like above her socially, but I'm not worthy of her, and I don't want her to fall in love with someone who's not going to be able to see soon, and who like won't be able to be there for her or protect her. That's a big thing for him, because Franny's work is very dangerous, going to rescue boys and doing things like that. Like, it's very dangerous. And when she puts herself in danger like that, he is afraid of not being able to like help her because of his like disability that is growing. Like, it's in the dark, it's really hard for him to see, and he of course wants to be the one to protect her. And the way that they solve this issue, the way that they move forward, it was really beautiful. So this one was 4 stars. Then, wow, I started a series because my friends all jumped on it. So Jessin started reading a book because she saw a Virgo reader talking about it, and it was called Unhinged by Onley James, is how I think I'm saying it. And this is the start of a 7-book series that is about psychopaths. And you guys know how I feel about those kind of boys. These are also all going to be male, I believe. Like, they're all going to be gay romances. This one in particular, so this group of psychopaths is actually built by, so there's this doctor named Thomas, and he builds this crew of boys, okay? And he gets them when they're young, when bad stuff has happened to them, when he identifies them as having psychopathic tendencies and other diagnoses, and he adopts them. So he gets adopted by this, they get adopted by this eccentric billionaire doctor, because somehow he's a billionaire, not really explained how or anything. And he turns them into killers. But they are, of course, killers of killers. So they're like, you know, the psychopath Avengers or the Suicide Squad or something. I don't know, I'm just making it up. But they will take out all the bad people out there that can't be caught any other way. And I'm a sucker for that. Like, it's literally my favorite kind of serial killer, is they're serial killers of other bad people. And so our hero in this one, Adam, when he was 16, killed this guy who was a pedophile, okay? And at the time, that guy had a kid who was only 8 years old. So when he was 16, he killed this guy, and his son was 8, and he saw him. And now it is, I think it's like 12 years later, and this guy is 20 years old, I think. He's 18 or 20, I'm not sure how many years it was. And his name is Noah, and he wants to find him and maybe get revenge. I don't know, we don't know what he wants. But he ends up confronting Adam in the beginning of this, and Adam is like, you're not going to kill me, and your dad was a pedophile, and that's why. And it turns out Noah has suppressed all the memories, but he remembers them, and he remembers that his dad wasn't the only one assaulting him. There was other men in this ring of sickos. And so he asks Adam to help him find and kill them. And Adam immediately becomes obsessed with him in the way that a good psychopath does, and is like, okay, but I also want to fuck you really bad. So they begin this relationship, and in the way that a psycho just becomes completely obsessed with you. And even though he admits that he can't love, he will be Noah's man forever. I don't know how else to explain it, but this was fucking amazing. I gave this 5 stars. I loved it so much. And I wanted to wait to film this until my books get here because I ordered the book. Yes, there's another one. It'll be on the list in a little bit. And I want it in my hands really bad. But I had to wait. And then I read Midnight Pleasures with a Scoundrel, which is book 4 in the Scoundrels of St. James. And this one, guys, this one was a 6-star book for me. This one did it. This one broke through and reminded me of how wonderful Lorraine Heath is. I didn't need to be reminded. Like, I already knew. But she does her little twisty twist. There is a twist in this book that I was not expecting. I did know there was a twist, but I wasn't looking for it because I went to see the reviews of it and people were like, there's a twist. And I was like, what? And yeah. And like, I don't even want to say which book it's like because that might give something away. But the start of this is that Eleanor Watkins is on a quest to take down the man who's responsible for her sister's death. So her sister Elizabeth killed herself, and in her diary, she pointed the finger at the person who kind of like pushed her to do this. And so Eleanor is there to ruin him. Now, the guy she wants to ruin is a very high up, important guy, and he goes to Scotland Yard and asks them to watch her because she's made threats to him that she's coming for him. And he's a pussy, and so he's afraid of this sweet woman. And so our hero is James Swindler, who we've seen in the previous books, and he's assigned to watch her. And so he decides that he will, you know, keep a real close eye on her, and he can't see that there would be any reason that she would go after this guy, or that she's not capable of committing this murder. Well, I won't tell you how this all plays out. I really don't want to. But I loved this. And when we discovered the twist and then how we handle it and then the way that this story wraps up, it gave me all of the feels. The epilogues in these books are always like a letter in a diary written by the hero or heroine. And the letter at the end of this one, there's a plane. It broke my heart in the sweetest way possible. Like, seriously, it was so beautiful. And when I was done, I was crying and I was like, this one's it. This one's my favorite one in the series. And I loved it so much. So I gave it 6 stars, and you should definitely read this series. It's so good. And it's the series that spins off into the Hellions of Havisham and into the something of St. There's more of St. James Street too. So anyway, I loved it. Then I finished off the series with the novella that's called The Last Wicked Scoundrel. And this is great. I wish this had been a full book. Like, that's literally my biggest critique, is that I was most excited for this story when I heard what the lineup was, because there is one more of Fagin's lads, and that, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Will? Is it Will? Is it William? It's William. Yep, I got it. And he's a doctor. And I feel like doctors never get a romance. Like, they never do. Like, there's always an old dodgy guy or like whatever. And all the way through this series, when I knew that the doctor used to be one of the Fagin's lads, I was like, I want his story. And so we get it in this one in the form of our doctor and Winnie. So Winnie is the best friend of our heroine Catherine from the first book. And Catherine, her whole story came about because she wanted to hire someone to murder her friend's husband. So Winnie's husband, because he was abusive and he'd already killed 2 of his wives, and she was worried about her best friend. So she asked, you know, the hero of that book if he would murder him. Now, the thing is, this is like kind of a spoiler for the first one, but it's a setup for this one. They didn't murder him. They had him deported to Australia. And in doing so, he's not dead. Is the best way to say it. So anyway, this is a romance between Winnie and William. It's been 3 years since we got rid of the husband, and she's starting to see her husband in different places. She's starting to see him show up, and she's seeing things moved in her home. And so she goes to her friends thinking that she's crazy, and they know that he's not dead. And so they tell William to stay close to her so that they can have her be protected. And he's only too happy to do it because he's had a thing for her this whole time. So the 2 issues with this one, I still gave this 4 stars because I really liked the conclusion to the series. But the 2 issues are like, the plot was not great. I know it's a novella, but it was too over the top for it to be a novella. Like, this should have been a full-length book. It really should have. And it was, it was too quick. It was too quick, and the plot was too much to support it, and I just wanted more of them. So I gave this 4 stars, but I loved this series so much. I can't wait to read more Lorraine Heath. She's just fucking brilliant. I love her. Then I read Psycho by Onley James, which just happened to come out the day after I read Unhinged. So good plan for my friends for recommending a book where the second one's about to come out. But like we said, there's supposed to be 7 books in the series. The next one has a release date of December currently, but the author has said that is just like, she sets her release dates out further than she means them to be, so she doesn't come up against a hard deadline, which I love that she does. It's much better to have a release date moved up than to have it move further away, so I'm very excited for that. This was also fantastic. So this one had a lot of Criminal Mind vibes for me because one of our heroes is an ex-FBI agent who has powers. Like, he is an empath, and so when he touches people, he can, or objects, he can get like an imprint off of them. And so he was very helpful to the FBI until he discovered that one of his coworkers was a serial killer, and nobody believed him. And so he spent some time in a mental institution. But now he's out, and he's going to be a teacher at this college. A college where one of our psychopaths, Austin, which one is it? Is it August? I think it's August. Yes, they all have A names, all of the psychopaths do. He is also a professor there, and he bumps into our hero on the first day. I just forgot his name. And he gets an impression of him killing. And so our one hero is like, oh no, I'm going crazy again. And the difference is like, August tells him everything because he's like, no one's going to believe you. You've already been crazy. I really like you. I want to be your friend. I want to kiss you. I want to fuck you. I want to do all these things to you. And maybe I can control what you see, you know, since I know that you can see and get impressions from me, maybe I can control them. Anyway, I jumped a little bit farther ahead into this, but August becomes obsessed with him, and there's some great quotes from this where he's just like, he found him so fascinating, and he just wanted to poke at him and see what he was made of, and he just falls for him. There's also some fun kinky stuff in this one, because August, he wants Noah to kind of control him in the bedroom because he's like, I have so many feelings and all these things, not feelings, he's like, I have all these urges and I don't want to hurt you. So when we are together, I want you to like tie me up and like make me do stuff because then I can like give up control to you and I won't hurt you. And our hero is like, you're not going to hurt me. And he's like, but I might because I really want to fuck with you. And I don't know. I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I fucking love this series. I want more of them. I can't wait for the rest of it. Like, I want it really bad. Then I read Christmas Eve at Earl Harbor by Lisa Kleypas. I got this on Libby. I wanted to start this, like, Rain Road series. I don't know what it's fully called. Because I've read one of the Travis series. I'm probably not going to read many more in the Travis series because it's pretty much universally said that like Blue Eyed Devil is like the best one in that series. And now that one of my friends, Crystal, has read the whole series, I don't think I want to read the whole series. But I wanted to try this one because I never heard anything about it. And this was really cute. It is literally this, it's like 3 men and a baby. Except she's a little girl. because this girl, her mother dies, and this mother had 3 brothers. And so one of the brothers becomes the girl's, Mark becomes her legal guardian, but the other 2 brothers help out. And then our heroine, she's a widow, and she lives on this, she has moved to this island, or lives on this island, and she runs a toy shop. And so one day Mark comes in with his niece Holly to buy her a toy, and they meet. And so it takes place between like September and December of this one year, where they kind of fall for each other. And she needs to be convinced to try again after losing the love of her life. And he is like being awoken because he's been in kind of this like ho-hum relationship, and then what he feels with this feisty toy owner, he's never felt before. And so it's really cute. But it was almost completely devoid of smut. It almost was going to be there's no bangs in this book until there's like one bang in this. But it is a novella. I don't even know how many pages it was. I listened to it. It was okay. It was fine. But I gave it 3.5 stars. It wasn't great. I will try to read more in the series though. Want to do that. Then I read Wings of the Night Prince by Alessa Thorne. This was the last book in the trilogy of this. I gave this 4 stars. I liked it. This one is, we have a bounty hunter named Braun, and she is sent to capture the Night Prince, Killian. I think it's Killian. And he has been in prison. He has wings that are like feathered wings, which was really cool because usually they're like bat wings or they're whatever. But anyway, this is a fated maid story. She captures him and she's supposed to bring her to the person who paid for him, and then they're falling for each other along the way. So will she hand him over or will she not? We'll see what happens. So I gave it 4 stars. I really liked this little trilogy. They were very spicy. They were very fun. They were very quick. And I want to read more by Alessa Thorne. And she does have some other series, so I'm going to check those out. Then I got to read the arc for Walking in a Witchy Wonderland by Juliette Cross. This was so cute. I gave this 5 stars, of course, and no shame about it. This has short stories about characters from all that we've seen so far. So there's a short about Wolf Gone Wild, so Evie and Mateo. There's one about Izzy and Devraj, and there's one about Nico and Violet. Is that right? I'm sorry, there's so many couple names. Yes. And then there's a short about Livy and Gareth, which is going to be in Always Practice Safe Hex, I believe. So we basically just see their like meeting. It's only a little snippet. Then there is a short story about Charlie and JJ, which is some little action for us. This was adorable. And then, yeah, I think that was it. Those were the 5 little shorties in this. So this is not for those of you who haven't read the series. This will make no sense to you. This will spoil a lot of stuff for you. This is for if you are a fan, you'll want to read this. It's really, really cute. But yeah, I would not read this until you've read, honestly, all 3 of her other books, because there's a pretty big spoiler for something that happens at the end of Witches Get Stitches. Most of the shorts take place kind of like right after their books, except for the one that's about Nico and Violet takes place 2 years in the future. So you really don't want to do that. But it was 5 stars if you do love it. I can't wait to get a copy of this one. And I know the audiobook is already in production for these because they want to do like a day and date release for this one, I believe. So that'll be cool. Then I read Intoxicating by Onley James because I wanted to try some of her other books because they have a bunch. Like there is like 3 other series that this author has, at least under this pen name. I believe this author also writes YA is what someone was telling me. I haven't looked up those books because I probably would want to read them. But this is their like LGBTQ pen name where they write gay, bi romances. So this one was a bodyguard and a senator's son who the senator's son is being forced to be in the closet because his dad is like a conservative senator and he's really shitty to him. And our young hero is 22 and he's been acting out a lot. He has gotten himself in a lot of dangerous situations. and he currently has an ankle monitor and is forced to stay at home. And so his dad hires this bodyguard who is in his early 40s, I believe, who is an ex-Marine, and he's a tough guy, all these things. And he's going to make a lot of money off of this job. And he needs money because his father has early onset dementia. And so he needs to make a lot of money. And yeah. And so this book is their romance. It's age gap. There is daddy kink. There is some fun BDSM stuff going on. And it was pretty delightful. I gave it 4 stars. I absolutely want to read more in this series. I don't know if I'll continue with this one right away, if I'm going to try the other one, because she also has like a paranormal one that I want to try as well. So I don't know, but I love this author and this was great. Then I read The Lady by Serena Akeroyd, which is the second half of the Valentini. Well, it's the second book in the Valentini series, which is the second part of The Oath, which fits into the 5 Points Mob overarching, whatever. The Dawn and the Lady, you could read them as standalones. You cannot read the Lady without the Dawn, though. Okay, so you have to start with the Dawn if you want to read the Lady. But you don't have to have read all the other 5 Point stuff to read this one. I enjoyed this duet so much. I can't wait to have it in my hands. Again, I need to wait before I pile books into my cart. But I'm excited for these. So yeah, so this picks up right where the Dawn left. The Dawn had a cliffhanger, which we knew it might, but thankfully she only made us wait a week. So thank you, Serena. And this continues with Jennifer, our heroine, learning that she's valuable. I don't know how else to say it. And Lucio, our hero, proving that he would do anything for her. Building up her self-worth with everything that he does. And also being a kick-ass mafia don. Like, I don't know what else, guys. I love this duet so much. It rivals some of my favorite books in the 5 Point series. And wow. This does have some trigger warnings for miscarriage. Not for our heroine, but for someone close to her. And that someone who's close to her that's going through that broke my heart, because it's a person that I love, and it makes me so nervous for the next book in the 5 Point series, because I know that that book is going to be dealing with what's happening in the periphery of this one is going to be front and center in that one, and I am terrified, because miscarriage and pretty much anything to do with babies that's scary is a big trigger warning for me, because that's very real in my life and my loved ones' lives. But Serena Akeroyd has proven again and again to me that she can take situations like that and treat it with care and grace and love. So though I am terrified, I'm also ready for it, if that makes sense. Like, I can handle it. So anyway, I did a lot of talking about other books. I loved The Dawn and the Lady. There's some of my favorites by her as well, because they were very focused on just this couple. Like, we didn't bounce around to a bunch of other shit. We were very focused on this couple, and I hope that she continues to do that with this series, because I don't want everyone else's perspectives. I really don't want them. I couldn't give a shit when I'm reading about a certain couple about other people. Like, and I hope maybe she's getting that criticism from other people too, and maybe Sue's changing it. I don't know. Maybe it'll just be specific to this duet because she wants this duet to kind of stand apart. We'll see. But yeah, there will be more in the Valentini series. It's going to be another like duet, I think. She's going to like be doing that with these, and I'm very excited for how that one's going to be set up too. It's going to be good. So I gave this 5 stars. Then I have 2 arcs to talk about, and I'll try to be brief because I can't talk a lot about them. The first one that I finished was Relentless Hunter by Maggie Cole. And this was book 10 in the Mafia Wars, and it wrapped up the entire series. This book doesn't come out till January, so I'm sorry about that. But Maggie is very good to me, and I pretty much get her arcs of this series as soon as they're ready. Well, before it's even an arc, like I'll get them sent to me, and I love that. Maggie, if you're watching this, I feel so honored that you do that. This book was a ride, guys. It was the wrap up of everything. I was crying multiple times. Like, it was really quiet at work on Friday since it's my first week, and then it was Friday and there wasn't a ton going on, and I'm just sitting there reading this and like tearing up constantly. This book is super heavy, but it also explains so many questions, so many threads that had still been hanging through, some of them from the third book in the series, like, get wrapped up in this. Especially stuff that started in book 6, which just came out. So there's some threads that get introduced there that get wrapped up at the end of this. And it's just like, it's so mind-blowing. It's, wow. Like, it's so powerful. And yeah, there's trigger warnings for assault, rape, domestic and sexual slavery. It's pretty heavy. Brenna and Finn, they have such a beautiful love story, and it is painful. This has time jumps. This is a story that takes place over 21 years. But it is so triumphant by the end, and the way that she wraps up, like, all 10 of our couples was so beautiful. She did such a good job with this. I know when she finished the series that it was a lot for her. But there is a great setup for her next series too, which you guys don't even gotta worry about. That won't be till next year. There's still 7, 8, 9, and 10 that need to come out for you guys. But for me, I'm ready for that next series that will be coming as well. Which I don't know if she's announced to everyone else. I know what it is, but it's gonna be good. So anyway, yeah, okay, and then the last book I want to mention, which I won't say too much about because I believe that the vlog will already be up. I either put it up yesterday or else it's going up tomorrow. I don't know. We'll see how much time I have for editing today. And I read Bison I Rise by Cora Reilly. I received the ARC yesterday and I vlogged it. I read it all in like 6 hours. And this is the first book in the Sins of the Father series. This is part 1 in a 2-part first book. I talk a lot about that in the vlog. So this is about Marcella Vitiello, which is the daughter of Luca and Arya, and Maddox Mad Dog White, who is the son of a motorcycle club that Luca slaughtered in Bound by Love in that book. He slaughters an MC. And one of the sons was Maddox. And so he's obviously been wanting revenge for 20 years, as goes on in the bloody mafia life. And his plan is to kidnap Marcella to make Luca pay. So yeah, that's really all that I'll say about it. My rating was 4 stars. Definitely check out my vlog if you want to know why. My biggest takeaway for it, because I don't want, like, my 4-star rating is 50% because this is part 1. This is not a complete story that I'm rating. And as a reviewer, I have to keep that in mind, but also be honest that the enjoyment level I got was a 4-star. The storytelling level I felt was a 4-star. Now, once the second book is out and we can read this just straight through, that might be totally different. But it was a decision by the author to split this into 2 parts when it could have been 1. It could have been 1 because the whole thing's written. It could have been 1 part. And for me, that wasn't starting this series out as strong as I wanted it to. So that's all I want to say. If you want to know more, you can see my blog. So thank you so much for watching this wrap up. Make sure you subscribe to this channel and like this video. That would really be helpful. If you want my content, make sure you hit the bell to know when I upload. I upload 3 to 4 days a week. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for those of you who support my channel. It means the world to me. And have a great day, everybody. Bye.